Welcome to Real Estate U with Letty Ann.
Welcome back to Season 2 of our podcast, Real Estate U with Letty Ann. And this morning I'd like to welcome Mel Zimmerman. Yay! Mel is the owner. He and his wife are the owner of Honey Wagon Septic Service here in the Kansas City metropolitan area. And Mel, it's a family-owned business since 1986. Is that right?
That is correct.
Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Wonderful. So I find septic as a real estate agent, every time I go on a septic inspection, I learn something new. I find it fascinating. Like, I almost don't sleep the night before because I know you never know what to expect, and it's almost like you're a little bit of a PI. So I've learned some about septic, but every time I have an inspection, something else is learned. So let me ask you this, Mel. What's your most asked question?
The first question that people always ask me is, well, they ask me two things. How do I find it? How often do I need to pump it out? And what's it going to cost? Those are the three questions they always ask me.
How do I find it? How often do I pump it out? And how much does what cost? The pumping?
Does it cost to pump it out?
Okay.
They want to know that always.
So the first question, how do I find it? It sounds funny for any of you that may not have a septic system, but oftentimes you can't find the tank.
Yeah, it's buried.
It's buried, but then sometimes it's very, very clear where the lid is. So tell us how, I've seen you do it. Not you, but I've seen your staff do it. Tell us how one finds a tank.
Well, first of all, we have, my guys have been with me several years, so they've had a lot of experience locating these things. You can walk out in the yard frequently and see where it is. It's usually 10 to 15 feet out from the house. There'll be a vent pipe in the roof that, like when you open a can on both sides, pour something out, same principle. That's what the vent pipe's for, so the water won't go glug, glug, glug. You locate that vent pipe, walk out in the yard, and then we have a probe rod, which is a big long bar, poke it in the ground to find the lid. And oftentimes you can see it because it'll be a rectangular outline in the dirt. It's not invisible frequently, depending on the age of the house. Older ones sometimes are deeper.
So, but you're very savvy at finding the tank, and it's interesting that if it's a real estate inspection for a purchase or a sale, isn't it interesting that the seller may not even know where the tank is? I mean, that happens a lot, doesn't it?
Frequently, they don't have any idea about it. It's the old principle of out of sight, out of mind, which that's, it's normal.
It's working. Don't worry about why mess with it?
Exactly. They just don't know it. I don't know. It's out there somewhere.
So how often should the septic tank be pumped on a residential property?
Okay, industry standard is 3 to 5 years for a family of 4. Now, if it's more people than that, bump it up more frequently. I tend to lead towards the 3 years because look at your soaps that you use in the house, and they all have one word on there, antibacterial. Well, bacteria is what breaks down the waste in your tank, and if that kills the bacteria, so that they don't last as long. Let's put it that way. The pumping distances, because the waste is what stays in the tank. The water goes out. But as the waste accumulates, it can go out in the lateral field and mess that up.
So when the tank is pumped, why do you pump, let's say every 2 to 3 years, why would a homeowner do that?
Because the waste, we'll call it that just as a nice word, needs to be removed periodically so it does not interfere with the function of the lateral field, which is where the water goes out into pipes and is dispersed through the ground.
So it's actually pumped and cleaned.
Cleaned, yes.
Ah, it's cleaned.
Yeah, it's emptied. That's another word we use for it. We empty the tank out, take all the content out of the tank.
Then what do you do with it?
When we haul it to a wastewater treatment plant where it's disposed of, and we have records of it, we have to log where it came from and so on. So there's a cradle to grave, probably a poor term, but cradle to grave on where it came from and where it's going. So gotcha. It's accounted for.
So how's that tank filled up just by use? So it's been pumped, it's been eye checked, looked at, taken away, and then that gets filled up again by just starting to use it again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Water, the tanks are generally 1,000 to 1,500 gallon capacity. That's if there was no outlet for it. But the water is dispersed out through a field, which we call it pipes and gravel, essentially. Mm-hmm. And that's where the water is dispersed. And as it filters through the soil, that cleans the water. 3 foot of good soil and the water is drinkable. It goes back into the ground rather than being dumped into the river from a treatment plant. So it's the superior form of treatment because the water's not, it's clean then.
So when I'm walking around the backyard and I know the laterals are letting out back there and I'm walking around, I shouldn't freak out. It's drinkable. I mean, you know what I mean. It's not
You're not going to see
toilet water that hasn't been flushed.
Right, you're not going to see it anyway because it's going into the ground.
I've seen it.
Ideally, you should. Well, if it's working right. If it's working right. If it's not working right,
Actually,
then we have another discussion.
Honestly, one of your employees, I'm like, oh my gosh. And they came out and they're like, yeah, that's the lateral. You got that right, Letty Ann. But what you're seeing is the sump pump.
Oh, right. Oh, the sump pump.
But,
yeah,
right.
right.
You tend to just have this mindset.
So water.
I'm like, oh my gosh, water.
Yeah, the idea is it disperses the water and efficiently, and that way it's not have to be dealt with in any other, no more treatment. That takes care of it.
And the cost to pump for a typical residential property?
Cost for pumping a tank is around $350.
Okay. You and Karen started this business like we talked about almost 35 years ago, still family owned.
Mm-hmm. We were 10 years old at the time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. A young entrepreneur.
Very young, yeah.
Well, one, how did you get started in the septic business?
Well, the old standard joke is I fell into it.
Yeah.
So.
Were you fascinated like me and just like, I want to learn more and then?
Yeah, well, to tell you the truth, my mother told me the first word I ever said was bus because we lived near a bus stop and I could see it. And so I have a fascination with mechanical things. So big trucks, I've always liked big trucks. And I drove trucks prior to this and I was over the road and I decided when Karen and I met, I said, I don't want to drive over the road anymore. So an opportunity came up to buy a truck like this. I said, well, I'm smart enough to do this. And there's another way you phrase it sometimes. Well, I was so dumb I didn't know I couldn't do it. I just said, I'm going to do this no matter what. And so I started and had one truck, a small one, and worked night and day and eventually hired some people, and now I'm moderately successful. And,
I think you're very successful here in the Kansas City metropolitan area. Honey Wagon Septic Services. I see your trucks all over. I use your company for my seller and buyer inspections. And again, I learn so much on every call. So
you're the kind of customer we like because my guys especially, we are real oriented towards education. We want them to understand septic systems and why they work, not just not just do the job and leave. The more they know, the happier they are and the better educated they are. And the guys walk away from there feeling like they've accomplished something, rather than just made some money. They educated someone to help this thing work better so they don't have less problems with it in the future.
Your business philosophy, Mel, you're creating almost a family culture with your employees at Honey Wagon Septic Service. And I love that you told us how you like to educate your employees. So not only to benefit your customers, but for the learning experience. And doesn't that bring everyone together as well?
Absolutely. The guys, they like, we have in-house seminars with podcasts with people that we work with on training on sales, on relationships with each other, because people work together. They as I've said before, they spend the majority of their waking hours at work. That being the case, it needs to be an environment where they feel comfortable and understood, and that this is okay. And the more they know, the happier they are with their job, because nobody wants to walk out somewhere to a job and say, I don't know what to do here. No, I want those guys to walk out of there confident that they know what they're doing. So we do a lot of education with them. It's valuable.
The beauty of that is when the real estate professionals on site at the inspection, they're always telling me and maybe the homeowner or the buyer, look, here's what's happening and here's how we're going to resolve it. So I feel like I'm already talking to the person who I need to talk to go to the next step. I don't have to come back and call you or call your office. Mm-hmm. They're saying, oh no, this won't work today. Here's what we need. We need to get someone to do this, and then we need to cut a hole in the tank and all of that. So it's always been helpful, and I think you guys are doing a great job. So Just to reiterate, you service Kansas and Missouri.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and it's Honey Wagon Septic Service.
Correct.
And we're live on Facebook right now as we're filming this. If anyone out there has a question for Mel, we have a couple of. And Andy, can you just tell me what that is? Since I know.
What's the biggest or grossest challenge you faced when dealing with a septic tank?
What's the biggest or grossest challenge you've personally dealt with in dealing with a septic tank?
Okay, this is an honest story. Colton knows it, and my associate that's with me today, he can vouch for it. I've told him before. The very first tank I pumped, low these many years ago, I opened the wrong valve and I got blasted with waste.
Oh.
And that's the truth. And I thought to myself, it can't get any worse than this.
And you kept on keeping on.
And I said, like I said, I'm going to do this no matter what. So.
Oh, that was a great question, Spencer. Thank you.
That was the grossest thing I ever had to deal with.
Yeah, good question. That was good. But you kept on going, and it's like, well, if that's the worst thing that happens, it can't get any worse than that.
That's right. I was committed to doing it. I said, I like this. I want to serve people and help people keep their septic systems healthy and working correctly, because it's in the interest of everyone to have a system that works right, because we don't need germs out there floating around in the air well, we're all aware of what's going on right now, but we don't need to have people being sick from a septic system that doesn't work right. And it's easy to maintain it. It just takes some education, simple education. Septic systems are wonderful as far as I'm concerned.
Do you have one at your house?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yep, I sure do.
Another question over here is what are some easy ideas for people to keep their septic tanks in good shape?
Okay. Use common sense. Well, if you know something won't break down, it's inorganic, let's say
Tampons,
yeah, or coffee grounds.
Eggshells.
Eggshells. Anything creates volume in the tank that won't become a smaller form. Don't put it in there. Just use common sense. The toilet papers. Honestly, this is going to sound funny. I've read up on this. The best is to use a single ply. It breaks down quicker than 2 ply.
Oh, we know it breaks down quicker.
Yeah. Single ply does it. Yeah, exactly.
I think everybody's aware.
Everybody's aware of that, but it does work better. It's better in tanks than single ply. And
well, now you know why they have all the antibacterial soap, because they're using single ply.
Right, because of single ply. Yeah, exactly. Ooh. We also encourage people to put an additive in there that we sell, a bacteria that enhances the tank, because the antibacterial soaps are so hard on septic tanks. We have a bacteria that we suggest that people oftentimes put it in there. Not always, because some people just don't need it. But
how do you determine if someone needs the?
Okay, yeah. When we open up the tank on a regular pumping, we're looking for the what we call the scum layer. That's the soaps and stuff like that. It'll be on a top layer, and if it's fairly thick, it indicates two things: it hadn't been pumped out in a while. Or here's another aspect of it: medication, because so many people are on heart medicines and medications, and they tend to kill tanks. They kill bacteria.
And that's not pouring the pills down the toilet and flushing it. It's just
going through your system. Going through your system.
Wow.
Yeah, it really does.
If it's ruining a tank, what's it doing to us?
Yeah, and so it's going through there, and it tends to make it not work right. So that increases frequency of pumping, and that's why a bacterial additive is a good idea, because it helps. It's like taking vitamins for yourself. You take vitamins for your body. Well, it's the same. That's like a vitamin to the septic tank.
So people shouldn't just go and get this product. What's the product?
Well, we call it Honeyzyme. It's a bacterial additive. You put a packet of it in the tank, and it dissolves.
I'm hoping that's your product that you patented, because it's got your name on it?
Yeah, it's ours. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Honeyzyme.
Yeah.
Did you bring some for us?
No,
Samples?
I did not.
That'd be cool.
I will.
Is it a big, packet?
No, it's a little box about like that, and the packet's about
So you just toss it in?
Just toss it in the toilet and it dissolves.
Oh, in the toilet, not the tank. Not
the toilet.
The septic
in the
tank.
toilet. In the toilet.
Okay.
It's even better because when it breaks down in anything in the lines that's hanging on, it'll attach to it and eat it and break it up. So
Nice.
it keeps your lines open also to the tank. So it's really helpful.
So maybe get your professional advice or those of your employees before you just start throwing Honeyzyme down your toilets.
Right,
or the other products that, because sometimes people aren't septic savvy.
Right.
And they just think, oh, I have to put this stuff in my toilet all the time. And
Yeah.
that's not necessary.
Not necessarily, yeah.
Good to know.
You know, my guys they're one of our values, core values at Honeywagon Septic Services, we want to be honest with people. You know, if they don't need that, we don't tell them they need it. But if we explain to them why, the education, here's why we think this would be a good idea for you to put this in there because your tank's not working right, and here's probably why, and then we offer them the product.
And Andy's telling me we have just a couple of minutes left.
We've got 5 minutes left.
And but why I've gone to several inspections where they've never pumped the tank, or there's no record of it in the county or with you guys.
Right.
What's up with that?
They've just gotten lucky. They're sitting on a time bomb.
Okay.
Because if it's not, okay, here's the best analogy I have. My car is running fine. I don't need to change the oil. Well, yeah, it's running fine now, but down the road, you're going to pay for that.
Right. So maintenance, just like your
It's
HVAC, just like any other
it's
operating
simple
system.
maintenance. Yeah, it's just cheaper to maintain it than it is to replace it. You know, again, the analogy with a car, it's cheaper to change the oil than change the engine. So it's real simple.
Got another question over here. What is the best way to keep your customers happy in business?
Our philosophy is tell them the truth, tell them what's going on with it, be straight up and say, here's what I see, here's why I see this, and here's what I think you should do. Honesty with people. You know, don't try to hoodwink them and tell them something that's not true. And, you know, in inspections at times, sometimes it can be difficult because we have to tell them bad news sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. But you got to tell people the truth and offer solutions to that problem. See, we don't do repairs because, like, we run across a situation with something wrong. It would look kind of self-serving, say, you have a problem and I can fix it. Well, yeah, sure you can, but it's just better I say, here's some people, call these guys, they can help you out. And they'll look at it and they might see something different than I do, but here's what I see. Again, it's just talking to people and try not to use inside lingo too much. Try to talk to them and make sure they understand what you're saying, not just say, well, you need to do this. When they say, what does that mean? I'm sorry, then I back up and tell them, simplify it. Because it's easy. You say the same thing over and over again a lot. Pretty soon they're going to say, okay, I've heard that now.
And you're used to saying it, but someone who's not septic savvy is like, I have no idea what you just said.
Right.
So.
And the guys they're very meticulous about that. I think that's what drives them. They just like educating people. They're you know, the old saying, people oriented. These guys all are. We hire them specifically we do some personality profile stuff before they come to work with us, and they have to go through everybody else before they get to work with us, because we want people who really just want to help people first. And because if you do that, if you take care of the people, they'll take care of you. And you know, you like holding your head up when you walk by a house and drive by a house instead of saying, oh, I remember that one.
Right. You remember the people.
You remember the people, and you say, that's a good person there.
Yeah.
And those are nice folks. I like them. They were nice.
I like you. I'm so glad I finally met you. I hope to meet Karen one day. And Lisa is always delightful. She's just delightful every time, all the time.
Lisa's been with us 13 years.
Person in her office, 13 years.
13 years.
I love that.
Yeah. She really knows her stuff, and she's really people-oriented, likes to help people.
I have one last question for you.
Yes.
Is a county inspector, so of all the counties that we have in the dual state area, is a county inspector now required in every county?
No.
Is it just Johnson County?
Just Johnson.
So just Johnson. So you pump, if someone's inspecting, we need to get a county environmental inspector? Or?
Well, okay, in Johnson County, it's real funny how it works. Overland Park is an entity unto itself.
Okay.
So we can do the inspections in Overland Park.
Without an inspector?
Without a county inspector.
Okay.
But anything rural and or any other place besides Overland Park, we do the inspections.
So Miami County
can.
would require an inspector?
No, we do the inspections.
Oh,
Yeah, we do the inspections in Miami County. Unless, sometimes the mortgage company, they dictate a lot of that stuff. They'll say they want a county representative to do that. And sometimes Miami County, Tom, the inspector down there does them, but oftentimes we do them.
okay. So the only county that requires is
Johnson.
Johnson. So if it's a Bucyrus address, but it's in Johnson County, not Miami County, then
Right.
yeah. And then your real estate professional, your licensed real estate professional that you hired will know that and assist you through the process. So if you're buying or selling and worried about, I didn't know that, and who do I need to call? Don't worry, your licensed professional will help you. Or simply call the folks at Honeywagon if you're wanting to pump the tank, you want to know more about septic. Maybe you're watching this and you've never had your septic pumped. They're going to provide you with a lot of value and service. So, Mel, thank you so much for being here today. And I look forward to calling you guys and setting up some more appointments again soon.
We look forward to it also. This has been really fun.
Good. Well, come back and see us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that was nice. I like that.